What's up, guys? It's the Wrangler recap from the 2019 DraftKings Draft Special presented by Wrangler. Adam Levitan, how are you?
Doing well.
Pat Mayo. Reed T. Fowler.
Why does he have the middle in their show? I don't know why.
Guys, this is Levitan's leverage, so this is all about you right now. So let's talk about the best pick from the first 15 selections. I want you to tell me who gets an A+.
Over the last 20 years, the Redskins have bungled everything from free agency to the draft to in-season player management to player usage. Tonight, they finally get it right by doing nothing and waiting and sitting there until pick 15 and letting the Donkey Giants get up to 6 and trade and select Daniel Jones. They get the best, I think, the best quarterback, or at worst, the second best quarterback in this draft, in Dwayne Haskins. It is a turning point for the franchise. The only thing that better could have happened is Daniel Snyder somehow selling the team. Short of that, this is the best night for the Redskins I've seen in a long time.
You agree with the grade?
I do. Don't overlook the Raiders in this situation either, because two guys have to go to bump Haskins down to 15, and the Raiders complied with their end of it too. So there you go.
I know,
Your mighty Raiders helping people out.
Yes, because of your Raiders, the Jaguars were able to get Josh Allen.
Big in community service down there in Oakland. No, it has to be the Redskins here. It has to be Washington. By doing nothing, right, it's like addition by subtraction. You're doing absolutely nothing, and you get the quarterback that potentially was going to go with one of the top 5 picks, and they would have to give up another thing like they did with RG3 a while ago. So it has to go to Washington there.
They even dodge people trading up, and skipping them too. They must have known that this was going to happen, or they just were like, oh boy, Dwayne Haskins, this is great. Let's do this.
I'm sure they were tempted to trade up repeatedly, and credit to them to stay there and get him without giving up any assets. It's really unbelievable.
So, Pat, any other team you would give an A to or an A+?
I think almost in a very similar situation with all the picks that happened. So, you can credit the Raiders, you can credit the Giants, but Josh Allen going to the Jaguars, freeing up a lot of money, especially to replenish that defense, is huge. Because when we look back at the Jags from 2 years ago, they spent all this cash to bring everyone in. And defense is so hard to sustain itself, especially at an elite level year after year. Like, the Jags came out and they were fire. They got to the AFC title game based on the strength of this amazing defense. It's not like their defense sucked last year. It was like, all right. It just wasn't the best of the best. Banking on that, especially paying these players so much, aging players. But now you can go out, you get Josh Allen, a guy who can wreak havoc in the backfield, get to the passer, and get him on the cheap. It really goes hand in hand with what you want to do on that side of the ball after paying Nick Foles so much money.
All right, you look at anyone else in the top 15. Again, that was part of the Wrangler Draft Challenge here at DraftKings. Any other team besides the Redskins you'd give maybe an A to?
I mean, out of the top 3, obviously, when you look at Nick Bosa and you look at Quinnen Williams, I think when you have Quinnen Williams at number 3 there, who you don't want to necessarily say this guy is like the other and do comparisons, but Aaron Donald, when you look at the way this guy moves with that size and being able to run a sub 540 at 300-plus pounds, you're gonna look at the Jets team this year and say they've made decent moves. Kind of what we were saying with Washington, they didn't screw this one up because they could have easily.
Oh, you say that, but everyone's talking about Vernon Golston too. So let's see how Quinnen Williams turns out here.
That's true.
Anyone you think we have 45 seconds left? Anyone you think absolutely screwed it up?
The Giants, and not only did they reach for the player, but I also think the player isn't very good. So double penalty there.
All right, Giants really screwing this up.
Yeah, the Giants did, and if whether he's good or not, I guess we're going to wait and see with that. But the fact they could have had him at 17 just makes it ludicrous.
And Reed, you're going with the Raiders.
Yeah, you have to. Let's bookend this and say the Raiders.
So you should say Arizona. Like Kyler Murray sucks.
Kyler Murray sucks.
There you go. There's the clip.
There we go.
All right, guys, that was a good time on the DraftKings Draft Challenge presented by Wrangler. We're going to toss it over to Adam Kaufman now, who has social media reaction through the first 15 picks.
Emerson, thanks. This was a really interesting draft over the course of the first 15, in particular the fact that there were so few trades, not a lot of activity, just a lot of guys that sat, waited, and were picked. As far as social media goes, and there was a lot of good stuff that you should go back and search through, and a lot of upset, angry fans. But to start on a high note, it began with Patriots QB Tom Brady, who you may remember way back in 2000, drafted in the 6th round, 199. He wanted to send out just an encouraging and inspirational tweet to all the guys that were just waiting. And he wrote, "Good luck to everyone waiting to hear their name called tonight. Remember, there is more than just going in the 1st round, or the 2nd, or the 3rd. You get it." Even his old teammate Teddy Bruschi, now an analyst, some gems can be found in the third round, and then the two of them went back and forth. So, of course, he is the GOAT, this guy right here. So, anyway, plenty of fun with that stuff. So, Tom Brady, of course, you know, good for him. But the thing is, as things rolled around, there became a little more uncertainty. Like Dwayne Haskins, for instance. Would he fall all the way to 15? Redskins seem to think so. His mom seemed to think so. This tweet, anyone else notice that Dwayne Haskins' mom was wearing a Redskins jersey when they cut to him at his house in Maryland? I think she just gave away that he's staying home and playing for Washington. Now, you'll note the timestamp. This actually happened before Kyler Murray was even taken number 1. This happened before the draft. So, looks like that Mama Haskins was right. The Potomac native now is going to stick around. No trade up necessary from 15. He fell all the way, maybe the pick of the first 15, just in that the quarterback went to a team that desperately needs a quarterback. Again, Alex Smith is out. Then it's at that point, it's just, you know, kind of a bucket of yuck. Case Keenum, Colt McCoy, and again, Haskins. One guy, of course, who did make a move, the number 1 pick, Kyler Murray. He goes to the Cardinals. Everybody expected him to. And check out this post on Instagram with his new teammate, Josh Rosen. My boy Kyler Murray about to ball tomorrow, College Station. Congrats on starting, man. You're going to kill it. See this right here? October 30th, 2015. Now maybe just a little bit of awkwardness. Rosen's going to get dealt. Just a matter of moments, probably. Last one here, the Giants, the Raiders, both of them. The Raiders don't seem to know what they're doing. They took a guy who would have been available probably in the 20s, in Clelin Ferrell, who went at number 4 instead. John Gruden, Mike Mayock just making moves. It was a stunner. But the thing is, here's this. Raiders, we're going to take a guy 30 picks early, even though we pick again later on in the first round. We are the story. The Giants, hold my beer. Would have made so much sense to take Josh Allen at number 6. Instead, they went with a quarterback, Eli Manning's eventual replacement, if all goes as planned, Daniel Jones, out of Duke. And so Giants fans all over the place, upset, crying, yelling, complaining that it was this kind of pick. Not happy. Not happy, Jesse. That's just the reality.
All right, guys, welcome back to the DraftKings Draft Special Post Show. I'm here with panelists Alex Jankowski, Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow, and we're playing, oh man, put up your bukes.
Let's go, baby. Best
Let's go. So, Steve, you're making your pick. You're debating with Julian and Alex. Who was the worst pick of the first 15 draft picks? There's a couple.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple, but I think the biggest shock that we saw was the Raiders. At number 4, taking Clelin Ferrell. Look, it's a need that they definitely needed to fill, but I feel like that's somebody that definitely could have been there later in the draft. I feel like they just kind of jumped the gun on this. I think all of us were surprised. Even in the broadcast, they were surprised. That was the initial reaction with that. You know, I just feel like this was such a reach so early in the draft. That number 4 pick is so valuable and just didn't seem like the right way to go.
Julian, I know you guys have a long and storied history on Put Up Your Bukes. So how do you rate this pick?
It was a terrible pick. I mean, if you watched our live show, you saw I said that whatever happens at number 4 with the Raiders, it's going to be a terrible pick. And then they take a guy that we see in mock drafts going between, 15 to 25, and they just take him at number 4. There were
like an
so
F.
many. Sure.
Yeah,
an F.
okay.
There were so many, impactful defensive players on the board, including # the good Josh Allen, who fell into the Jaguars' lap at number 7 overall, that it just doesn't make sense for the Raiders. If I could fight Steve here, put up my bukes, I would, but there were other questionable calls. This was the most questionable.
And don't get me wrong, it was a terrible pick, but part of the reason also Josh Allen was still there at 7 was because of what happened at number 6, and that was the Giants taking Daniel Jones. And like I said on the show, yeah, if he's your guy, then you take him at 6. You don't wait to see if he's there at 17. But why is he your guy? When you consider everything that the Giants have done over the past 2 years, continuing to say Eli's our guy to the point where you pass on Sam Darnold at 2 overall last year to take Saquon Barkley, and then here you take a far worse quarterback in Daniel Jones, who maybe is more pro-ready than Sam Darnold, but his ceiling is maybe Eli Manning at best? Like, what are you doing here? And what are you saying to Eli Manning? What are you saying to the franchise who we're saying we're going to build around Eli? We think he can play 2 or 3 more years. Are you kidding me? Then why don't you fill another need, fill another hole? You take another quarterback. Makes no sense to me.
So overall, we're agreeing though with this. Are you gonna grade it at all? You want to grade Steve's
The problem is,
pick here?
if they had made that pick later in the draft, we'd probably all be in agreement. But
Yeah.
that's a great pick.
Okay. Yep.
But number 4 overall, it was just wrong place, wrong time. I'm giving it a G. It's worse than an F.
A G? A G? We're remaking the grading system here.
I bump
Janko.
it up to about a D because I'm a big believer in the Clemson defensive line as a whole. I thought all 3 of those guys are going to be great NFL talents, not just on the field but off the field as well. And so when you see a front office like Mike Mayock and John Gruden, 2 guys who are in the media and know that it's more necessarily than just what you do on the field, like I can see then you're trying to go for, guys who come from a program like Clemson, which is now being held in esteem with really anyone else out there. But I agree wholeheartedly that from a talent perspective, you could have done much better.
I'll stick with it being the worst pick in the first round. But the reason that Janko has a little bit of an argument here with
thank you.
with Daniel Jones is because of what he said about Sam Darnold. When you put it that way, we knew this was a need last year too for the Giants. Eli Manning was not a young, spry quarterback last year, so this need was still here. Sam Darnold, a much better prospect. You wait a year, and now here you are with Daniel Jones reaching on a guy.
All right, guys, great work. Steve, we love putting up our bukes. That's going to do it for the DraftKings Draft Special presented by Wrangler, the post show, of course, here with you guys. We'll see you next time.